Thank you very much. Hello, Vinnie. Was great to meet you in Orlando and talk about the dynamics of the industry. And then after my presentation, and it's my ultimate pleasure to be here on Analyst Camp now today.
Well, Sven, it's my pleasure. That was a great presentation. So I'm looking, SAP is so strong in industries that when you bring it together from so many dimensions, it really is striking. So thank you for adapting it for this series.
Looking forward to. And then I reduced it a little bit to the net, which I would love to go into. But first of all, from my role, I spent the last 7 years in engineering, where we also met. So taking care about everything S4, but now heading the industry organization as a chief marketing and solutions officer and customer experience, because I happen to believe that specifically that combo is also an interesting one. But looking at all the industry specifics, I'm also interested in the dynamics which are behind that. And that's what I had in mind. Show a little bit, not redo the presentation, but give you a little bit of a background, listening to your questions, make it interesting to the audience, hopefully to engage. Does that sound good?
Sounds excellent.
Awesome.
And to me, this will be like a update. I helped Peter Meyer with a book last year called Business as Unusual. So I had a chance to deal with several of the industries. So this will be a nice refresher 6 months later. Thank you.
Great. Now, and actually, that's already the first one I want to allude to. So the knowledge about industry, which undoubtedly, and thanks for writing it up after Orlando, we do have, is I think sometimes a hidden asset. And what I mean by that, the intensity where we have discussion with customers and partners, we'll come to the partner angle as well later, really brings a deep knowledge. I happen to believe the industries the customers operate in defines their core business. And that is super important that we do that in all the industry areas we know. Now, on the flip side, one industry is always a priority somewhere. So we need to set focus. And I see two areas where I think we are zeroing down on. Number one, which verticals are really transforming, because that transformation, some call it digital transformation, rightfully so. That's a journey, by the way, not a destination. And here we can be a lot of help. And the second one, come to that next, is that convergence between industries, either in a segment or between industries. And that's something where we are looking into, where we get a lot of feedback from customers and partners that is something where the 50 years of history for SAP, really there's even an obligation that we help them, that we bring that forward. So knowledge granted, and you talked with that before, but where is it evolving towards? And what I personally see, and that's what my team is also driving, is while you see trends in every of those more than 25 industries, it is really truly like the change that has happened due to the last 2-3 years. It's just accelerated. I personally see a lot of projects where customers use more than SAP, but as long as something being produced, shipped, or paid, it touches our solutions. And that's where you need to get that industry flavor. And that brings me to that convergence. And we analyzed it. We'll explain a little bit how we did analyze it. You might have questions there. But I saw that in industry segments, like, for example, in public sector, where they really transform to a much higher degree to standardization, and then learn that capabilities out of other industries can help. Or oil and gas companies who are now going into retail, or actually the merge between utilities and oil and gas into energy. So a lot of convergence is going on. And to get to that, and I talked about that in Orlando, here's something especially for you. We analyzed more than 4.5 million companies' SEC data, just to get a little bit of data reality. And I love it if it's based on data, because then there's a lot more truth than anecdotal. I met this customer, I was in this industry, which everyone says. And this is something where we saw a couple of evolutions, and you see that on the left side, how the SEC codes of companies changed or were augmented. So suddenly a utility company going all the way into financial services, which sounds natural when you see the use case, but you're going to base it on data. And there are, I think, on the right side, those 5 things, which also we will be talking more about that. I'm happy to come back to an analyst cam anytime soon. The interdependence in industries, that convergence itself, the digital transformation, what does technology help? Sustainability, big topic. And this customer centricity. So where are the touch points that I need? So I thought I'd bring that to analyst cam to underpin what I said in Orlando.
This is a fantastic slide. By the way, in Orlando, after we met, I sat down with Daniela Selman. And guess what, Vinnie? The first example of convergence is utilities and our energy. So it's already happening in your field. So
big time, big time. And this is why I personally think that this is where, together with customers from different industries, we learn a lot. We used to do also industry advisory councils, and we keep doing that. But we thought a little bit around silos, and customers also thought, well, I'm in this industry. What I find very intriguing, and this is a topic which definitely just starting, is that they want to learn big time from each other. And I've brought an example with that, and we had that in Orlando, where we even looked at the entire farm to consume business scenario, which again would appeal to what I said before, where convergence also means at the borders of your industry, how you collaborate. This all only works on good data. The data ecosystems underneath, the data flow behind that. And hopefully you enjoyed the ice cream as I did, maybe a little bit too much, but we'll see. That was a very important one where we went into from the farm, from the production, all the way to consumer.
Sven, I've challenged Andre to come and do a 20-minute analyst cam on farm to consume. So I'll see how well he delivers to that.
Yeah, and I'll send you actually a link later. You might want to have that in your blog. We now put a digital twin of this on the web. If you find it, but I'll help there. That's part of my job. But we put a digital twin on this because I see 2 things happening: either the convergence between the industries, but also in a vertical supplier. Everyone talks about the supply chain, but in retail.
The only bad thing about the web version is you don't get an ice cream.
Yeah, that's a challenge, definitely. You afterwards might get a code to get it somewhere. Well, we'll figure out with the clients. That's the beauty if we're back to 3D meetings, which I love. But again, very good example.
Just start using Apple Vision Pro. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Another one which I found intriguing is exactly that energy retail. Like you have electrical car, you go charging 30 minutes of your time. So where is the highest margin of actually that oil and gas company who has the fuel station is a retailer. And that retailer needs a lot of interaction. So where can I send a code to Vinnie when I know where he lives, I know his profile, to come to my charging station or gas station? Maybe you have a hybrid. And then 30 minutes, we can interact as a retailer. And that interaction also brings me to that customer experience at any touch point. And suddenly those big oil and gas customers need to look into automotive, because it starts maybe in your car, not only on your phone, but in your car. They're an energy company still and a gas, but they're a utility company. The biggest margin is in retail, and this is reality. This is happening today, and that's why also in Orlando I alluded to some of those examples. And I see many of those scenarios in other industries, but that's an intriguing one as well.
Yeah, so much entertainment opportunities, gaming opportunities, and in the charging time, and yeah.
And before we would have said, yeah, maybe let's invent with new technology. Now we can tap into, hey, we know how automotive in-car communication works, and that might be an ecosystem play. But what is the data that I put in here at the interaction? And then I know you're coming to my store. Where's the coupon I can send you in the car on your mobile, and making sure you're intrigued to charge here and not there? And that gives me the ability, like, those are questions that a lot of our customers have, and those are answers that we have in concrete business scenarios.
Sven, I was Love's is a retail gas outlet, primarily for truckers. And I happened to just check their services. They had like 50 icons.
Uh-huh.
Even now, even before you move into the whole world of EV charging, my God, showers to all kind premium Wi-Fi to it's like impressive to see a gas station be so sophisticated.
Yeah. And that's, as I said before, it is a journey of digital transformation at its best. But what is the business rationale, and where do you have that engagement touch point, that customer experience by itself, where you influx that at every touch point? That's of course also something that we're driving. Now, needless to say, I talked about in Orlando also about the question of next practices. And that's what I mean when in verticals changes are, when convergence comes into what specific industry innovations we do. We have the approach with our industry cloud offering, which, by the way, huge collaboration with a lot on the ecosystem. Not everything needs to come from SAP. But again, if we understand the business process, we understand the data and the data ecosystems, those industry cloud solutions are pretty much, and as you expect, no discussion around generative AI, but we alluded to that. I personally happen to believe only based on good data. And that's why also trend like having more in a software as a service approach helps to gather more data, to make also business AI, how we positioned it, much more meaningful. And you can do that at every touch point. You can do that, of course, not only with the material data, the financial data, but also with the people data. And that is something we from an industry are leading as SAP to say, in what industry is that real? What is the scenario you're supporting? And that makes it much more tangible.
You know, Sven, this is a big opportunity for you from an industry's perspective.
Yeah.
All the Gen AI hype I've seen so far has mostly been in HR,
Yeah,
marketing, chatbot type of scenarios, right? I haven't seen any operational examples yet. So
yeah.
I know you're thinking about it, but that'll be again your differentiator.
I already see the next analyst camp coming on this one specifically. But here, let's also put it a little bit more forward, thinking about what we positioned also and what we are doing around sustainability. But we all know the implications. But again, the pride that I think we have from an understanding industries, that they also, even in that area, as you see on the left side, like, sustainable mobility, renewables, circular economy, we all know those buzzwords. But how does it now connect with the supply chain and all those interrelationships? That's another convergence that I see. And this is where we have our own development, but a lot of partnerships, big partners, niche partners, where I see that convergence also playing in our favor. Again, it comes down to data, comes down to how to implement. You heard about the green ledger as a very forward-looking one. And here again, I think the industry context does matter. Last point, which I would quickly to allude to, and it's not my last 7 years, but it is important. How do you consume that? We talked about cloud ERP a lot, and here again, from an industry's perspective, it's all about focus. It's about focus inside a customer, or it's even a focus in industries. There are industries which are ready for the highest degree of standardization. And that means usually software as a service it is. And that's why, as I said before, as long as something produced, shipped, or paid, will touch also the core. Together with my colleagues from S/4HANA, we're making sure the industry specifics get at the forefront. And more the readiness of the customer also defines how far can you simplify, which brings you ultimately to the innovation. And that's why also in Orlando, we showed how in S/4HANA, being it public or private cloud, or the combo like 2-tier, where industry-specific functionality via industry cloud really adds that differentiation on top. We also thought a lot about how to bring that to market. Everyone heard about RISE in meanwhile. Again, here, the industry next praxis, the extensibility plays a big role. Like not only from a product, but also what is those business processes? what are partners delivering on top of that? So in my organization, I do own what I call the industry opportunity map. What do we have? What do partners have? Where are white spaces? And I put that even in context of RISE, or the next one will be GROW, which is more for the mid-market and subsidiary, where you now need to add not only the solution, but how you adopt that fast. You say, yeah, you want standardization in an industry, but how you accelerate those services, how do you build a community, how you get learning ingrained. And I personally believe, as I said before, the industries, the companies, and it's plural, the industries companies operate in defines their core business. And with that degree of standardization, we need to get an industry flavor out there. One scenario that I'm deeply looking into, did before and doing now again, is that two-tier ERP, which means if you have the luxury as a client to run your show yourself, you have all the expertise, albeit it's getting harder and harder to get experts, then you might be okay. You might be also very specific, but in subsidiaries, in merchant acquisitions, there the combo even is important. And I see industries like professional service, they're completely already into public cloud, not only in line of business, you see that also in industries where others not take oil and gas downstream. With the retail scenario I meant, the degree of standardization and the appetite to consume it as software as a service is growing. And that's where, together with our colleagues in the core, we're defining those industry-specific scenarios.
This is from a global perspective, there's a long been promised two-tier ERP, and SAP is so well positioned. Eva is presented to me on the globalization. You're in 105 countries, and not 105 payrolls. So you're in many more countries where you don't even have HR. But an even bigger opportunity is going to be in not necessarily multinationals who need local support, but local companies that are growing very fast. I mean, there are some fast-growing economies, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and so on. They're going to be big markets.
Definitely. And as you just mentioned it, right? That's why, by the way, I like the name GROW. It's not only a subsidiary of a big multinational who might even have the resources, but then they are not fast enough. It's really those smaller ones who grow super fast. And there's, again, an industry angle to that. And that's what I'm pushing with my team. Make it very specific, make it industry relevant. Don't just put generic stuff out there and then let everyone assemble that. And that is also a change I see in the ecosystem, that even the largest, but also the niche partners now suddenly come up. But there are also some mega trends, and just recently, take India, the electrification of the automotive industry in India. There's a huge portion what they can leverage, what we already did in other geos, like, for example, in Germany, and you don't invite a German without a car analogy, Vinnie, right? So where we're invested in this data ecosystem because the OEMs, the BMW and so forth, not only dealing with their 12,000 suppliers, but looking at the entire value chain that they have already downstream, upstream, and in their environment, create those data ecosystems like Catena X. And now continents like India can already build up on that level, which, by the way, if you allow me that analogy, I see as the biggest opportunity in business AI. It helps the people who actually come new and they can start on a complete different level. What I mean by that, it's not only for the experts, it's also for the newcomers, for the people who don't have that wealth of knowledge. And that is something I'm looking at every industry. And so I would see in the electrification of the automotive industry in India, we can take all those learnings as it has been standardized somewhere already, put that in industry context and apply that to such a big continent, which is, of course, growing fast. That's what I really mean, taking next practice serious. Talked about business networks. Same here. Business networks from a supply perspective, I think, is known. But getting that together with my colleagues in development, with Mohammed, we are building those specific, we're putting together advisory councils. in each of those industries, as data ecosystems are the future and they will happen out there. The question is who understands the data, who can help to connect. Luckily, a lot of those customers are using SAP solutions today. So we are best equipped from an industry lens to bring that together and to make that combo happen.
So take the Katina X learning and apply them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Have you looked at, for the book, we saw a lot of networks emerging in the finance sector. So
Yeah.
have you looked at banking and insurance? Because there seemed to be a lot of, they're extending into real estate and lifetime planning and all that. So maybe something.
Yeah. Definitely. And there's a little bit like, usually you would have expected from SAP a positioning in a slide with 25 industries. We're doing everything we're doing. Now, that doesn't mean we're not engaging in others, but I also look at where the convergence, where the evolutions in certain industries. And that's why absolutely financial industry is top of mind, but you also want to have specific features, functionality, value proposition in there. We're doing that together with the ecosystem to look into those ones. But those were the first ones where we feel comfortable. And I'm a fan of, well, there needs to be proof. There needs to be reality already with clients. And that's why we started with those 4. But yeah, good point. There are many more coming.
Well, the semiconductor one should be really helpful, given all the problems we had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True. Industry and actually infrastructure does matter. Hey, let me close it out and then happy more questions. So first of all, we also changed the way how we're engaging with clients. And that doesn't mean that everything can be virtual, but we have those experience centers, physical experience centers all around the world where we show scenarios, industry relevant scenarios. Like, for example, in New York, it's more fashion, and in Germany or here in Newton Square, where I'm today, it is more around IoT 4.0. Same would then be actually also in India, in Bengaluru. But interestingly enough, we're not only doing that with physical, which I found super intriguing to get customers and partners at one physical room. We also have virtual versions of that, as I promised, farm to fork. Other than the ice cream, everything is available as a digital twin. And we do those combos. Sometimes we invite personas from certain customers to the centers, and the rest participates virtually. So also the way how you experience solutions, how you see data flow, and that was, of course, something in farm to consume where I personally think very tangible. That is something we do in those centers, and then I invite you and others, of course, and the customers listening to this and partners really reach out to us, go to some centers. Net, I think we know industries. I hope it helped with that condensed version to reiterate and show a little bit behind the curtains of the PowerPoints what we're doing. And then again, happy for any questions and when people want to
see on the experience centers, I've virtually been given tours of 2 of them, the Industry 4.0 one and then the Customer Experience Center. But what is really impressive is how you take components from those and bring them to different sapphires and so on. I mean, that must be a lot of work to be able to make sure it works when you move it around, right? So
yeah,
you guys are so far ahead of the competition when it comes to this integration of physical and digital experience. So
you're going to hear that when you manage to invite Andre, everything there is reality. It is not vaporware. It is not positioning and a PowerPoint. It is truly available solutions, by the way, equally important to me from SAP and from the ecosystem. If you take it our retail example, which I had before, that's, for example, the big showcase we have in Waldorf, in our headquarters. And this is a physical store, and you can see how that works. And
that's the one that I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. And all is based also on technology we have with partners, and they apply their technology in those centers. And this is like, for me, also like customer zero. If it works there, then you challenge also some of the people who visit to say, why not in my organization? Why not in my company? Or that's an angle I didn't think about. And that's why, albeit I'm super, super happy to also reinstate the mojo in 25 industries plus. I think the convergence is the other one, and seeing is believing.
Completely agree. Sven, we need to schedule these for every 3 months. The next time you can come and talk about your vertical ecosystem, then come back and talk about business AI. So I want you to come back periodically and talk about different dimensions of your industry approach.
Yeah, always happy, Vinnie. I like that format. Prepare your questions, challenge us, but I like to explain behind the PowerPoints, and hopefully today was a good opportunity to peel the onion to the next level. I will keep doing that, Vinnie.
Thank you again.
Thanks for having me, Vinnie.